All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hi, I'm Doctor. And I haven't been this excited in a long time. I know I'm excited for every guest, let's be honest, but we have the Micheal Rondinelli joining us today. And Mike has been like a legend to me. And so it's so nice that I get to finally sit down and talk to Mike about everything that is growing practices from a startup to I don't know how many practices he has now. He's a super successful dude. But welcome to the show now, Micheal. How are you, buddy?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Neki. Thanks for that intro. And Akil, Nate, thanks for having me. No, I'm super excited too, just to sit down with you guys. I feel like, we're always crossing paths, at conferences or at just meetings, and we never get to sit down and actually talk and, go over our stories and go over, lots of cool things that we're about to go over. So, no, thanks for having me, guys. And I'm excited to spend the next little bit with you.
Absolutely, man. Why don't you tell everyone about yourself and where you practice and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'll start kind of on the personal side, and then I'll go over the business side. I'm married with two wonderful little children, 3-year-old Brooklyn and 9-month-old Joseph. So we're busy. My wife is actually, she's an OBGYN, so we're living actually in the US right now, but I cross over to Canada every day to go to work. So we have
Oh,
a
wow.
complicated, yeah, very complicated living situation right now, but she's just interviewing back in Canada. She's from Vaughan originally. So yeah, we're making our way back. But yeah, and then on the business side, so I graduated in 2012 from University of Detroit Mercy. From there, I was born and raised in Sarnia, Ontario. So for those of you who don't know, it's about an hour west of London, kind of right along the border. And yeah, I started working at a practice there, and then ended up purchasing it probably about a year and a half after I had started working there. So spent my first year and a half just learning how to be an associate, learning how to practice dentistry in Canada. And then kind of from there, I just started, buying and starting up practices and growing. And now we're currently at about once we get done these last few startups that we're doing, we're going to be about close to 30 practices.
What?
Yeah.
30?
Yeah, we'll be at the 30 soon enough. And
Hold up. You go from being an associate to just drop in, hey, yo, fellas, I'm at 30 practices.
In
You
some
missed a
months,
couple
even if you
steps
were
there, homie.
in
I
some
have a
months,
little
if you were to
bit.
go to one practice a month, you wouldn't even get to them.
My God, man. What do you do in February, man? You're screwed. Oh my goodness, man. That's
That's
Yeah,
in leap
so
years.
incredible, dude.
it's taken 10 to 11 years of hard work, but so I
Yeah.
left that all out in the process. But yeah, so no, the company's doing well. We're called the Huron Dental Group. We have a sign management company that kind of runs everything and helps us. So from our CFOs to our our COO, our ops person, regional managers, we have a whole C-suite that kind of helps govern the practices. And yeah, I can honestly say I'm having more fun doing dentistry now, which I'm still a full-time practicing dentist. I still see patients at least 5 days a week. And yeah, I'm having more fun with dentistry now than I ever have been. So it's an incredible journey. We have the best profession in the world. I still say this every time I talk, and I love what we do. And yeah, that's the beauty of our profession is there's so many different avenues that you can take. And this is the avenue I've chosen and absolutely love it.
Did you set out to acquire 30 or did you set out just to stick with one?
So I kind of grew up in a business family. My parents actually owned some pizza places. So just small business. I know typical Italian owns pizza places. But yeah, so we actually owned a few pizza restaurants. And so it was always kind of ingrained in my mind about going into the business side. Loved dentistry for the obvious reasons, the same cliche reasons that everyone says, how it combines arts and medicine and all that kind of stuff. So I know I didn't want to do the pizza business anymore. I spent a lot of hard years working at my parents' restaurant when I was a little kid. Didn't want to do that. So I stayed in school for as long as possible. Dentistry was what I fell into. And yeah, so from there I knew I wanted to have multiple businesses, and I really enjoy working with people, and not just from a patient standpoint, but from also a managerial standpoint, and working with staff and seeing something grow.
Man, Mike, it's just so interesting. Well, first of all, I put myself through university working at Pizza Hut. So pizza has been good to both of us. I'm sure you got a lot more out of it than,
Need to have
$4.50 an hour, but
a pizza cook off or something like that, right?
absolutely, man. It's so interesting though, Mike, because everyone in dental school, like I was just at a Canadian dental student conference in January. Akil and I were there, and I was talking to these students, and they'd be like, man, how do I own 10 practices? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like everyone has this mindset of, I'm not going to own one practice. I'm going to own a ton of practices. But like in reality, they get out and maybe like 0.1% of people can do what you have done. Like, what is it that drove you to do that? And how did you get your start going from one practice to just even go to two practices?
Yeah. So, again, I don't want to sound cliche, but it really is based on the premise of helping people, right? So, when I first started as a dentist, I would see, 7, 8, 9, 10 patients in a day, and I treated them really well. And, I saw how I could make 8, 9, 10 people happy in a day. And then I said to myself, well, what if I use like kind of my business background and the way that I'm used to how I can run a business, I know I can run a business. What if I can get a bunch of dentists together that all kind of think like me and have that same basic mindset of helping one another? And why don't we take almost like a medical model where, how doctors all practice together? And why don't we help one another as opposed to, always being so working in solidarity and always working by ourselves? And why don't we combine this and then see what we can do? So, we started with like, 2 practices, and then we went to 4, and then 8 and 10. And we just kept on adding doctors and adding dentists that really believed in that same mindset. And just to say, I went from seeing 8 patients a day and I made 8 people happy. Now we're seeing hundreds of people a day and making hundreds of people happy. So that's really been my driver and my motivation since day one. It's how many really cool, like-minded dentists can we bring together to really accomplish something that is moves the needle, and not just makes 8 people happy in a day, but makes hundreds of people happy. And that's what we've been able to do so far. So I can honestly say we have, about close to 40 dentists that work in our camp, and everybody has the same mindsets and the same type of premise. And we are constantly, every 2 weeks, we have a CE course that we're going over these basic core values where we believe in helping people and practicing good dentistry and helping one another and seeing what we can do as a group together. And I think that's really important in our profession, because often we're faced with such, we feel alone and we feel lost, and we're all by ourselves, and you're in somebody's mouth all day. And, having that network of people around you is super important. So whether it's part of a group or you have a bunch of good friends or whatever it is, but we need to be making sure that we're together with one another and really taking on this profession together.
Or a podcast.
Yeah. Or the podcast. Yeah.
Necky's my only friend. But yeah. Okay. So like, if you were to take a step back and, try to, and this is what I love about having people, that are so deep within a particular niche, on this podcast, because sometimes even for them, they're like, they kind of take a step back and like, oh, like I never even thought of it from that perspective. Right. So like, if you were to take like a step back and think, okay, our objective was to bring like-minded people together and practice great dentistry. If like, how is that actually like executed? Like, is that, we're going to bring, Necky, if I'm in your shoes, would I bring, Necky in and say, hey, Necky, let's go buy a practice together? Or is that really, I'll buy the practice, and then, hey, Neki, this is a horrible example because Neki would never work for me. But hey, Neki, can you come work at my practice? Right? Like, how does that actually like translate to, growing and scaling?
Yeah. So I think like kind of answer that question is that you really need to make sure that your partners and those people that you surround yourself with are like-minded and really believe in the abundance mindset as opposed to it's all mine. So if everybody believes in the abundance mindset and we can all help one another and we can achieve more together than just by ourselves, then that's an easy fit. So if you and Neki, you drink the same Kool-Aid and you guys believe in the same things and you think you're each other phenomenal people, then you should be okay with partnering and growing a practice, because if you want more for yourself, do more, right? There's lots of opportunities out there. So go buy 2, 3, 4, 5 practices with Neki. And one person doesn't have to work for each other. You guys can all grow it together and all be partners together. So I think that's where our core mindset just came from, is that, what can we accomplish together as a group? And finding good partnerships and finding people like Akil and Neki and good people to surround yourself is tough. But that said, is that finding the right person with the right personality and the right core principles is what we really look for. The dentistry is easy. We can teach people. We can do lots of CE. We can, there's so many great resources out there. There's great, amazing podcasts such as this. Neki has a great third molars course that I know a bunch of our associates have taken. And, there's lots of great resources out there. So it's just finding the core people that are good people to be around and that you really respect and they respect you, and growing things together.
Mike, I really, what you're saying, I'm drinking your Kool-Aid, man. Like, I want to come work with you. Like, screw Alberta, man. I'm moving out east.
Would
But
love to have you.
Mike, I have a problem that I think a lot of other dentists have. And for me, it's I work in a rural town in Alberta. I'm very happy where I am. But in my head, I was always like, man, it'd be so cool. I see people like you. I see people like Hisham, a lot of my other friends, they go from one practice to two and they keep on going. And then I'm always looking at the grass, I'm like, man, is the grass greener on the other side? And I'm like, okay, but I would like to open up another one, but how do you be two places at once? My name's on the door in both places. How do I manage the staff in a town 60 kilometers away from me and manage my own and do my like dental work? I just found it so overwhelming. And I think a lot of dentists like feel that same way. It's just very overwhelming to go from one to two. What would you say to those dentists? What would you say to people like me that want to take that next step, but just don't know where to begin because we're scared?
Yeah. So you bring up a great topic, and I'll reference what you said earlier too, is you meet dental students all the time that are saying they want to be, they want to own 10 practices, or they want to be the next, a Min Shivji there.
Yeah.
And we get that all the time. And my answer to that is, what's your motivation? Right? Yeah. Are you driven? Like I said, I shared what drives us, and that was using our resources to help as many people as we can in a day. But I'll tell you right now, if it's money that motivates you, or if you want 10 practices because you can make lots of money, you're wrong. Like I have a beast of an office in Sarnia. It's 16 operatories. It's kind of like yours. You have a massive practice, and you work that practice, and whatever it does, if it does $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month, and you're there and you're watching everybody and how much how much bond they're using and how much etch they're putting on there, and they're not wasting, you can pull killer margins out of that practice. You can pull 50-60% margins out of that practice. So it bills, say, $3 million a year. You can take home in your jeans $1.5, $1.6 million a year as being a dentist. Like, that is insane. You're in the top 0.1% of Canadians with income, right? Yeah. So like, if it's just money, why would you go open up another practice? Because I'll tell you right now, splitting your time, you're not going to be watching how much bond gets used. You're not going to be watching, if the staff member is just sitting there texting on her phone for 45 minutes. You're not going to see any of that. So your practice is going to run so much less efficiently, and your margins are going to be significantly cut, and you're probably not going to make any more money. And in fact, you're probably going to make less money. So I'm not singing the blues. And me and Hisham always joke about it all the time, as we say, we've never been so broke than what we are now, because, you know, we have, say, 30 practices and all these offices, but I'll tell you right now, they're not running absolutely as efficiently as they can. And the margins become from 60% margins down to, say, 10% margins. So that 16 off practice that I'm using, I run. I mean, there's 6 associates in there, you know, 3 or 4 new grads. I'm going to tease the one guy today. I went into the room and he was doing an endo, and he had 14 K files that he was using. He had, every time it would bend, he would grab another fresh K file. And I said, you know how much those K files cost? He's like, oh, I have no clue. And I was like, they're like $80 for a box of 5 or something like that. So
you've lost money doing this root canal. That's going to fail.
Endo, you've now blown through like $300 of K files, like, let alone everything else. So, you know, the motivation is to go from 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's just because you want more money, then don't go find a big office, grow it over time, run it super tight and super efficiently. There's starting to pop up some good business courses on how to run your practice efficiently. You know, me and Quack and Jeff Sumner offer a great one. You know, take some business courses on how to run things super tight, super lean, and that will be your income, and that will be your money. You know, for us, it was about helping people, and I wanted to create something out of my career that was bigger. And that's why I'm okay with making less money and growing the operations. So, you know, I guess that's my first thing of advice to everyone, is really sit back and examine your why, and why you want to expand to multiple locations, and if it's really worth it for you and your family, and you know, you're putting a lot on the line, you're risking a lot. And you know, we're so blessed in this profession. I mean, if you practice in rural areas, even though I'm in Ontario, Sarnia is more of a rural town. It's only about a town of 70,000. So, I mean, if you're working in a rural area, you're making a couple $100,000 a year. You know, you can have all the fancy sports cars you want. You can have a nice SUV. You can have a nice house. You can have everything you want. So there's what's your motivation for putting that on the line and risking it? So you really need to self-examine before you do multiple locations, I'd say. And that's coming from someone who has multiple locations and loves it.
Akil, I'm just going to throw it out there. Akil's a dental student, even though he's smarter than most dentists out there. That is quite possibly one of the best answers. I've asked numerous people that question. That's one of the best answers I've ever heard, because everyone has this false sense that, like, no, you own 10 practices. They're each raking in, you know, multi-million-dollar net every year. And so now it's just as easy. It's just a recipe. I'm just going to double it. I'm just going to triple it. And that's not reality, because you can't be at 10 places at once. You can't have your finger on the pulse of every practice, no matter how well you think you manage. Am I right?
100%. Like, I mean, let's geek out for 1 second on some numbers, right?
Yeah.
So right away on it, this is a satellite location. So this is a practice that I'm not at, Necky's not at, Akil's not at. So you have an associate right away, they're making 40%. That's gone. So you know, you can't recover that. Your staffing costs. Staffing is insane nowadays. There's dental hygienists, you know, they're all asking for 50, sometimes $60 an hour.
Yeah.
That's nuts. You know, a hygiene appointment, you're billing 200 to 250. They're right away, they're $60 gone, right? And that doesn't even include anything else, the overhead of the practice. So, you know, your staffing costs now are closer to 30%. So that's a third of it gone right there too. So you guys can see right away, we're up to 70% here. Yeah. And that doesn't even include you know, so just the lights to turn on, you know, your building, your rent is anywhere from like 6 or 7% right there of your revenue. Your sundries costs are about 6 or 7%. Then you have your lab costs on any fixed pro stuff. So you guys are seeing there's nothing left. And so, yeah, if you're not a good business owner and you're not running things super tight, you're going to lose money. You're going to actually be using that beast of an office that you have to support your dud that you now have. So it can actually be a deterrent, and it can actually be a bad thing if you try to expand and you necessarily don't know what you're doing. And that, sorry, I ran all those numbers. I didn't include a practice loan. You know, what are practices going now?
At 6% interest.
Yeah.
6% interest. So,
Yeah.
you got a $2 million practice that you just purchased. That's probably, say if it's even doing $1 million in revenue, they're selling for like, practice valuations have not come down at all. I don't know what's going on. Interest rates went up. I was expecting a crash in practice values, and it has not come down one bit. At least that's what I'm seeing. So, you're still $1 million practice. They're still getting 2.5 sometimes. And so you're 30 grand a month, principal and interest now on that. So yeah, like you gotta really, really know what you're doing, and you gotta be, really have that motivation to do it, because it could be a really big sinking ship if you don't.
Totally. And what's hilarious is like one of my really close friends, I love him to death. He's a Sudbury boy, right? So, he loves just brute forcing, white knuckling his way through things. And I was walking back from the gym with him one day, and he goes, "Hey Keel," like, and we always just bounce ideas off each other. He's like, "Hey Keel, like, if I buy one practice and I could pay myself X, can't I just buy two and then pay myself double?" And I'm like, well, man, like that's not really how it works, because like you're kind of working twice as much, and you're gonna have your loans, and there's obviously like, there's overlap, and you have, it's not that simple. And it made me think, because like, as any dentist buying basically any practice is gonna get the loan, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to get money. And like people use that as a barometer to dentists kind of get that false sense of security that, hey, if the bank gave me money, yeah, it must be a pretty good deal. But I think what the difference is, if Micheal Rondinelli is buying a practice versus if I'm out there buying my first practice, those are two completely different deals, because I rely on the income from the practice versus, you'd be able to say, okay, if it like, net zero, that's fine, because it's like a longer term play. And I think people don't really have that perspective, and they have that like really dangerous false sense of security that, oh, if the bank said, yeah, good enough. But the bank's not there saying,
Good.
hey, maybe Akil, wants to go to a Jays game every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not thinking that.
You bring up a great point, Akil, and we're talking, and we said we wanted to bring up some specifics, and that would be a specific, is that the we live in this fairy tale land where we get 100% financing from the bank, and we get prime interest minus 0.5 minus a percent. That doesn't exist in the real world. Only doctors and dentists get that sweetheart treatment from the banks. So even though they will throw the money at you, which is awesome at the start, and you love it and it's great, they're not analyzing the business opportunity, and you're going to be very, very miserable, because you just said it, is that you can't go to a Jays game because you are broke because you're paying off so much of your debt. So, I'm at a place now where I can honestly say I'm happier than I've ever been, because we've been able to assemble a team behind us. So I don't get sick calls at 5:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning. They call one of the managers, and then the manager, moves people around and staffs things. And I don't have to ever fire anybody anymore, because we have an HR person on staff. But there was a time in my life when I was scaling this company, when I had about, 4, 5, 6 practices, I couldn't afford anything. Hasham and I used to joke, we used to compete on who could live off less. We had our living costs, I think, each down to under $30,000 a year. We were literally living off of like mac and cheese, and we were like dentists 4 or 5 years out, because we were so broke, it wasn't even funny. And the practice debt was a lot, and we didn't have money to pay people to do things. I didn't have a regional manager. I didn't have you know, a COO. I didn't have a CFO. I didn't have anybody. I was wearing all the hats. I was doing the hiring. I was doing the firing. I remember going to almost 3 or 4 clinics in one day because I needed the income. I would go to one location, you know, drop as many implants as I could there. Then I would drive another hour to another location and drop as many implants as I could there. Then drive over to another location and take out some wisdom teeth. And all because I couldn't refer anything out. I couldn't lose anything. I didn't have the dentist that would do it. And so I needed all the money I could get, to be honest with you. And I was miserable. I would leave the house at 4 or 5 in the morning and get home at 9 or 10 at night and just crash and, you know, have to have my phone blowing up with 27 messages from, you know, some 19-year-old assistant who got too drunk the night before and wasn't coming into one of the locations. Like, it was miserable. So, you know, you really have to, I'm not trying to paint a bad picture for growing multiple locations. I love it. It's the best thing. But, you know, when you come out of dental school and you say, I want 10 locations, just know that there's a lot of tough roads that go into that, because it's not all just roses. It's not just as simple as I buy one, then I buy a second, and the second one's going to go like the first one, and multiply, rinse and repeat times 30. It doesn't work like that. So there's a lot of sacrifice that has to happen. It would have been really tough to do it with the family that I have now. You know, I was a single guy and it was a little bit more acceptable. So yeah, these are all considerations that you really need to take into consideration. And like, it always goes back to what I said. If it's for the money, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
I know a lot of people listening to this podcast can't, you know, they don't have the video of this, but this smile on my face, I cannot get rid of because this is finally real. I talk to so many people and they just blow smoke and they show off their Rolexes and they tell me about their nice cars, and it does not
Bro,
impress
there's not
me
even a
one
wrist
bit.
on this. There's not even a watch.
Right? I tell a kill all the time. I'm like, dude, you don't trust the dude in the Rolex. And then the first thing Hisham's like, dude, check out my Rolex. And I'm like,
he's like a Rolex collector now, I think.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm like, man, this is finally real. Michael, thank you so much for just keeping it real. But when I guess when I was looking at a practice, like let's just go back to I want to get a practice. Okay. You said you were throwing out some numbers earlier, like people, like there's practices going for 2.5 times or a certain times EBITDA, or what the hell is EBITDA, or like, what are you looking for? Give us specifics. If you're a new dentist, what are you looking for when you're valuing a practice?
Yeah. So we can talk about valuing a practice for sure. Like I can touch on that, but I'll be honest with you. Let's take it one step, you know, previous and say, do you even want to buy a practice? I personally love startups. Probably of my 30 offices, I think probably about 20 of them are startups.
What? Really?
100%. 100%. If you put a gun to my head and said, you got to do a practice tomorrow, it would be a startup.
Why? There's no cash flow. Like, aren't you scared of not having enough patients coming through the door to pay that loan?
100%. Well, if you're doing a startup smart, hopefully your loan isn't that much, right? So, you know, so let's talk about, so the benefits of a startup, right?
Yeah.
So the benefits of a startup, first off, you can probably, if you're being smart with your design, smart with your contract, you got to have somebody that's done it before. So there's so many times that dentists just go and they call their equipment rep, and the equipment rep's like, oh yeah, I'll draw you some stuff and introduce you to this person, introduce to that person, which they're all just like collecting, you know, backdoor, you know, kickbacks and whatnot.
You're like, wow, they're so helpful.
Oh, I got a buddy that does construction. And then like, yeah, he's just literally, and ask me how I know is because everything that I say, I've gotten screwed by. So don't act like I'm this expert. I'm amazing. Hisham and I did our first startup together and we got raped over the coals on just about everything. We found out later there was no amalgam separator in our mechanical room because the guy that sold us it didn't put it in and then sold it to another dentist behind our back. And we paid for it. We paid for it. So he sold it to another guy as a used unit. So, I mean, we had gotten screwed every which way on our first startup, right? So, you know, if you can have somebody that can guide you through the process and make sure, act as a mentor that's done it, before, or done it multiple times, then you can be super, super efficient, and you can do a startup equipment leaseholds on 1,500 to 2,000 square feet for anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000. So your principal and interest payments on that is not overwhelming, right?
Yeah. But
Whereas
then you see so many people on that exact same practice, 2,000 square feet, are spending like 1.8 mil.
Yeah, 100%.
It's wild.
Moronic.
Perfect. So it should be 600K. All right.
100%. If you're spending over 600K, patient, anything you build, patients are going to think is amazing. Like, just because you don't have glass everywhere, it just as long as it's clean, you can buy like IKEA furniture and people think it's so cool. And it's just the most modern thing, the most amazing practice. Like, the average dental practice is some 60-year-old dentist who has still the same furniture from, that was in your grandmother's house. So it's just the fact that you have something that looks somewhat modern and somewhat decent. I mean, they're going to be super happy, and they're going to think this is the coolest place in the world. So you don't need to spend $1.8 million. Simple, clean construction, and then fancy it up with some nice pictures from, wherever you buy your Marshalls or wherever you buy your stuff from, some IKEA furniture, and like, you're laughing. Like, it's going to be absolutely the best place in town. You have to be good with your location selection. So, I'm a big believer that dentistry is going retail now. So, the days of putting it in the next to a doctor or something like that are over. I think high traffic locations, anywhere next to a Starbucks, those type of locations are where dentistry is really, really going nowadays. Unfortunately, we're becoming a retail play. That plus, like I said, good construction, with the startup, you're able to hire good staff. Every time I've bought a practice, and sorry to any of the practice, the principals that are listening to this that I've purchased, but usually you're buying a bunch of problems. The staff there's a reason why someone's usually selling. Either the dentist is really old and they're just retiring, which the dentist is leaving. So then you're going to have patients leave. You're going to have some staff leave because they're used to working with that person. Or they're a younger person. They just hate managing, which means they're usually not a good business operator. So there's usually just a ton of problems that you have to try and fix. So now you've just spent $2 or $3 million. You have like a $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 loan payment every month, and you just have inherited a bunch of problems. So therefore, that's why I love, we pick the staff, we hire the great, the best people that we think for the job. We have our systems in place. We train them with our systems. We have a good marketing program where we can drive anywhere from 50 to 100 patients, a month in pretty easily on a startup. And we have it up to 1,000 patients within, 9 months. It's pretty easy. So like, for me, that's the way, that's the recipe. If anyone, you young dentists are listening from dental school or just starting out their career, I highly consider the startup model. It also, like I said, it goes.
This is amazing. I'm writing everything down here, man. This is keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to location too, right? Like, Akil, you're in downtown Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's tougher market there. But that said, is I know guys that have done very successful startups in downtown Toronto. It's just your customer service has to be on point. I think you guys just had an interview with I just listened to one on my drive.
Derek and Dustin.
Yeah,
yeah,
super cool. Like what they're doing, right? So it's I haven't been there, but I almost want to go for a cleaning there just to check it all out.
I'm going there on Saturday. 2 fillings.
So awesome model. They're separating themselves, and they got great marketing, great name. I'm assuming the location's awesome. And they're just hitting it on all cylinders. They have great customer service and just a great business model. So with all those things, there's no reason to spend $3, $4, $5 million on an office and just swarm yourself in debt. You can do things nice and efficient and still have a great business going forward.
I got a question for you from like a young soon to be dentist. perspective. What's the playbook for all of this? Because it seems like without having gotten screwed by, having someone selling an amalgam separator, like how do you learn this sort of stuff? Because I feel like this information is always just with the people who have made the mistakes, and that's not scalable.
100%. So like, unfortunately, I hate to say it, especially in Canada, like there are some gimmicky courses down in the US, like I think breakaway seminars. There might be some other ones that have replicated that, but then again, like I've taken those and they're more geared to the US market, like down in Texas, and Texas is just a different beast than anywhere in Canada. So yeah, unfortunately, Micheal, there's not a lot of good resources on how to do like a Canadian dental business startup. There just really isn't. So, just trying to find a good mentor that's done it before and can kind of walk you through the playbook. And I mean, there's resources online. There's great Facebook groups. There's some podcasts. There are resources out there, but yeah, unfortunately, it'd be nice to see like a good Canadian course. Here's your recipe. Here's your playbook. From A to Z on how to do a dental startup if you want to do it. So yeah, sorry, that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's kind of the truth right now. So, but basically,
Mike, how do you learn? Because your operation only works with trust. Like you have to know that the people around you have your back at all times, because you can't, like you said, you can't be everywhere at once. And there's so many pieces to the puzzle that makes it all work. How do you learn to trust people that can, at the end of the day, not have your best interest in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the golden question there, Neki, right? Like it's just about everything in life is, just trying to really read people and try to see their core values and their core principles. I don't hire people based off of their resumes I'd say that probably the typical dentist looks and says, "Oh, you've been in the dental industry for 20 years. I want to hire you." I'm the opposite. I'm like, why are you in the dental industry and why are you looking for a job? So, trying to find those people that are just good, down to earth people, ethical, that once you meet them, that they're good people. And if they have dental training, great. If they don't, we'll train them. We actually started a dental academy for assistants and front desk. So it's
a great idea.
Yeah, it's an 8-week program. They come in, they train on assisting and front desk. And, at the end, they hopefully sign a contract with one of our offices. And all those people are not people that have been in the industry. These are all people that, are the nicest people at Starbucks and they're great at serving your coffee. And then we try to recruit them to our assisting and our front desk academy, because those are the people that we're looking for. And those are the people that we can trust and the people that we want to be around. And like I said, it's the rest we can train. Being a nice person and being a good person, you can't train. And that's what we really look for.
Dude, I got a secret. I don't know how I came across my office manager. She hired this my receptionist right now. Like each dentist in our office has kind of their own like team, you know what I mean? And I found the secret: cell phone sales. Those people get bashed around like crazy. My receptionist came from a cell phone sale background and she's so freaking amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want people that have been in the dental industry because they have too many bad habits. You want someone that has that sales experience, that has that, they've been said no to several times and it doesn't like startle them. You want that Starbucks employee that is nice to every dick, that has their own individual, non-fat, high cream, whatever, extra hot, no foam, right? You want that person because they carry so much previous experience that they will bring into your office, man. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So like for sure, sales and customer service, right? So
yeah,
I mean, some of our gems are from McDonald's, because McDonald's they're the best at systems. McDonald's, when they onboard you, you don't just like the way we train dental staff right now is we say, hey, you're new, just go follow Susie for 3 weeks and see what Susie does. And then, and then we'll throw you in with some patients. And that's not how you train. That's not how you onboard. McDonald's has the whole McDonald's University. I mean, they go and they learn systems and protocols, and they got videos, and they learn, you can only put 3 pickles on a bun. And so these people that have worked at McDonald's, they're brainwashed to listen to these systems that are in place. So we train our staff similar ways. We have, YouTube videos that they have to watch before they onboard. They have, training, they have books that they have to read. And so these people, like all these people that come from these customer service industries, they're okay following systems, and they understand protocols, and they understand what it's like, you said, to deal with people who are very particular in the public, and and all these tough people to serve. They do it with a smile. And that's our secret as well, is really going out to the industry and not worrying about people's backgrounds.
Like from an HR point of view, right? Because I mean, without a doubt, every single dentist that either comes on this podcast, I talk to in person, their complaint is always HR, right? It is the hardest thing to do, and it is the hardest thing to do right. And I mean, we're in the process of scaling our own company, and like we're bringing on new people, and I have this, internal sort of struggle where, I love that idea of hiring for personality, and I love the, the people you work with, the people you spend the most time with, so you got to like them. But on the other hand, I kind of think to myself, well, that's really important from, the managers or the, like the heads of departments. But when you start hiring other folks to, execute a very specific job, do you need to go to that level? And like, that's not me saying you shouldn't, but that's just me asking, is that something you do throughout an organization, or is that just something you need to have, key people having those same values as you in those key roles?
Yeah, for me, it's I believe in you have to have people that have those key values and those core principles throughout your whole organization. Because if you have somebody that doesn't have those, I mean, one bad apple can really throw off a whole dynamic. Like Neki, you have a massive office. I mean, you hire one wrong person and it can just ripple.
Oh, I know.
Throughout the whole.
Yeah, it's one virus that gets in there, right? And then everyone has their own team, and the dynamic is crap, and you're kind of put in the middle.
So you should be that picky, like throughout, like the entire organization. Everyone should be the person you want to work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that, and obviously, I'm not blind to the fact that HR right now is a really, really big challenge. And you almost have to think, though, if you're having problems with HR, it's always easy to blame everybody else, right? There's a great book by Jocko Willink. It's called Extreme Ownership. And it's all about everything in your life is your responsibility. So if you're in a crappy marriage, if you're in a crappy relationship, if you're not happy with, your weight, if you're not happy with anything, it's all your fault. I don't mean to be blunt, but it's true. So if you're not happy in your marriage, get a divorce, find somebody else. If you're that miserable, if you're not happy with your weight, figure out a way to do weight loss. Right. And, I think we need to take that into our own dental offices too. And if HR is that big of a problem, what are you doing to try and solve that problem? Like I said, we created a training academy where we bring in people off the street and we train them, or just examining your culture. Like, there's all these like dental assistants, happy dental assistants day, happy, front desk admin day. Recognizing that, give your staff like a $10 gift card to Tim Hortons that day, because it's their day. On their birthdays, give them a paid day off, or send them some flowers and a cake. So, it's easy just to say, yeah, HR's a problem and I can't find anybody and I can't find any to work. But I think it's really important that as a business owner, you really reflect on yourself and you reflect on yourself as a leader and say, why am I having such a problem? And maybe it's not the industry, maybe it's not the world, maybe it's not millennials being lazy. I hate hearing that. No, I'm 38, so I don't know if I'm a millennial still or not, but I just hate hearing that. Millennials are not lazy. They're not, there's not this whole generation of lazy people. They just think differently. They're not like the boomer generation where it was like clock in 9 to 5 and put my head down and work a job. Millennials want to solve a problem. Millennials want to be part of something special. So if you have a bunch of 19-year-old assistants or 20-year-old assistants that aren't showing up every day and they're miserable, find out what you can do to motivate them. And it's not money. It's not, I'm just going to pay them more, or I'm just going to, you got to find them. They have to have a purpose. They have to have a mission. Put your mission and value and your core beliefs everywhere throughout the office so that people have a reason to go to work every day. Motivate them with some type of goals, incentives. I always use the analogy, if you went to watch a football game and there was no score clock, that'd be so boring. It'd be unbelievably boring, right? Because there's no goal, there's no mission, there's nothing to strive towards, right? So have some type of measurement for your staff. Like, this is our goal this month, let's hit it. And if we hit it, we all, go have a pizza party, or we all go for a beer after work one day. So putting those goals in place and different incentives for your staff, and your HR problems should go away. I think it's just so easy to blame millennials and blame the job market and blame Justin Trudeau for giving away money. And, it's just, there's so many things to blame. And I think it's the first person you always need to blame is yourself if things aren't going well.
I think that's it right there. We're always looking to blame someone else when we really should be looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Mike, how did you learn to be a leader? Because dental school doesn't teach us to be leaders. Then we graduate, have 2 letters in front of our name, and now all of a sudden we're expected to lead a group of people through a very difficult business, a very stressful business. How did you develop your skills? Did you go to courses? Did you have your own mentors? Did you read a lot of books? Like, how do you fine tune your skills?
Yeah, like the simple answer is like books, podcasts such as this. Like, there's a lot of good people you guys got on this podcast. Like, I'm not just saying that because I'm on it, but like the lineup is just unbelievable. Like, I'm shocked that you guys have got so many big names. Like, this is incredible, right? I don't think there's any other Canadian podcast in dental that's getting the names that you guys do. I know there isn't. So, but anyways, books, podcasts, all that kind of stuff is definitely good for ideas and whatnot. And, we could easily put a reading list together, but
do you have any like books that come to mind, like right off the bat, like ones that have like revolutionized your thinking?
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned the one, right? Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Love that one. Anything Simon Sinek, like,
start with why, right?
Yeah, he's the man. Love him. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber is another really good one. I mean, it's a classic. Dale Carnegie, those ones. All the big. I mean, you haven't. Most people on this that are listening haven't read the main ones that everyone mentions, right? So start with that. There's a cool app I downloaded. It's called 10 Min. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. No. So it's called 10 Min. It's $60 for the whole year.
TEN 10,
the number 10, and then MIN.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Sorry. So for busy people like yourselves, like, I'm sure you guys don't have time to sit down and read a whole book nowadays. It's tough. So it breaks up all these books, everything I just mentioned. There's a whole category if you just want to type leadership, and it does 10-minute audio book summaries of all those books. So it gives you all the main points in an audiobook format, all in 10 minutes. So you can read E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber in 10 minutes. So those are great little hits if you're working out at the gym, or you got to drive to work and you just want to cram out a book in 10 minutes. I mean, it's great. So download that app. It's, like I said, $60 for the year, but it's worth it. but yeah, and then just, leadership in general, it's you're thrown into it if you take your job serious. If Neki, how many staff do you have? Just at a rough idea.
42.
As you're the leader of the ship, you are responsible for 42 people's salaries. So like, it is your responsibility to know how to run a good business, run an efficient business, run a profitable business, or those 42 people aren't going to have a paycheck. They're not going to have raises when they want them. They're not going to have, and those 42 people also have families. So they have 3 or 4 people that are dependent on them sometimes too. So you're responsible for 200 people here of putting food on their table. And that's because you have to be a leader and you have to know what you're doing and you have to steer the ship in the right direction. And that to me is how you become a leader, and how you become is that if you take the weight of everyone that you're employing on your shoulders, you're going to become a leader really good and really fast. You're not going to be, if you have that virus, like you said, that really bad employee, you're not going to be scared to fire her. Your success in life is directly proportional to the number of uncomfortable conversations you're willing to have. So you're not going to be scared to fire that person because you're a true leader and you know that those people depend on you to be one. So, I mean, for me over the years, that's probably where I've gotten the most leadership. It's not from a book. It's not from, reading something. It's not from anything other than just really taking that responsibility on myself to know that, I have 200 plus employees and they depend on me to know what I'm doing and to run a profitable business and a profitable operation, or else they're not going to eat and their family's not going to eat and they're not going to get a raise, and everything else is going to crumble from there. So, I think you just really need to take that on your shoulders and you'll be fine.
You just blew my mind. Dude, I've never, ever considered that. How did it take 14 years for me to consider that? Like that, you're totally right. It's not the immediate staff you're just worrying about. You're concerned about the 200 people behind those people, that their families. And if you think about it just like that, you're much more able to have those difficult conversations because there's much more at play. Dude, I never realized that. Akil, are you hearing this, man?
That's awesome. That's a really good way to think about it, because it's like you flip the narrative from being, it's about me. I watched this documentary about Adam Newman, the WeWork founder.
Yeah.
Adam Newman, and like the thing he constantly drilled into, is like staff and his team, and everyone is, be a part of something, and even as like, to his customers, like be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. And I know WeWork, kind of imploded, but I still think that's so true. And like, Neki, if you view it from that angle, you are a part of something that's bigger than just yourself. You are more than just your patients. You are more than just your practice. It's, you're part of something that is, affecting 200 people. And Michael, for you, like 400 people, right? That's something that's hugely, important. And it's much easier to have those conversations, to your point. So that's a really good way to think about it. Actually, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, and it all loops together if you guys are seeing it, right? So like if you're responsible for being a leader, being a good leader, I say being a good leader, but then you have to, that will translate into running a successful business, is that you're able to give your staff and those people that depend on you the perks that come with that, right? So you can have birthday celebrations, you can have good days out, and you can have like a good camaraderie amongst your group and bonuses and all that fun stuff. And then you won't have staffing problems and HR problems. So like everything kind of loops together, and at the end of the day, it all comes down to you as that business owner and as that leader. And not only just being an amazing dentist, that's what's so tough about our profession, is that you have to be a good dentist, but then you also have to be a good CEO, and spending just as much time working on your business and working on your staff and spending time with the HR side of things as you do becoming a good dentist.
So Michael, what's the long-term play with building a DSO?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and my associates always I just got a new desk in my office, and they saw me packing up all my stuff, and they all started teasing me saying, "Did you just sell out to Dental Corp?" So they're like, "Well, I thought you would tell us, Mike, but it looks like this is how we're gonna find out." And I'm like, "Guys, I just got a new desk."
Yeah.
I just wanted a standing desk, for God's sakes.
So anyways, no, so the long-term play is like we're having fun with what we're doing. And like I said, I've from the start is that I've been able to assemble this really cool group of dentists that I work with, and our crew is just absolutely amazing. And so I'm having more fun now than I ever have, and I don't deal with half the bullshit that I used to deal with. We have an amazing team that I go into when I go to our head office too. Everyone's wonderful. So yeah, I'm having more fun than I ever have. So never ever would I ever sell out anything, and I'm just going to keep growing and hopefully keep bringing on amazing people. It's kind of funny now because I've been out for 11 years. So I remember when I was first starting, I was the young cool guy, and we're always going out with all the staff, and we're always partying and always doing stuff. And now things have changed. I'm kind of the older guy and talking to these young dentists, and it has rejuvenated me, and it's going well. And it's fun to see things kind of progress into the next stage all the time. So yeah, I mean, we're going to keep going. We're just going to keep trying to add practices to the platform and add great dentists and add great people and see how far we can really go. So there's no real play on, or no real playbook. It's just as long as I'm having fun, I'm going to keep pounding.
How do you find your dentists that want to, like, obviously you have like-minded dentists, like how do you approach people? Do they approach you and they want to be part of your family? Like how does that work?
Yeah. No, 100%. Like I know some other DSOs and stuff, like they're always into the schools and they're always like
Yeah.
lecturing and whining and dining dental students. And we're kind of the opposite. We just more go off of referrals. So kind of like our dental practices, they always say the best patients are the ones that are just referrals. So we kind of take the same mindset when we try to find dentists. Unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, it's actually very easy to find dentists nowadays. Sometimes it's harder to find a dental hygienist than it is a dentist. So
that's unfortunate for me, not for you.
Yeah. No, it's unfortunate for our profession that we're flooding the market for sure. But yeah, we can usually base off of a referral from a current dentist. If we really treat people well, we focus our group on a lot of CE. We're constantly, every 2 weeks, we're doing some type of CE activity. So, they're always cool with referring their friends and saying, hey, this is a really cool group. They have great camaraderie. There's a WhatsApp chat that's always kind of going off nonstop with all of us dentists. And then the CE, we're always seeing everyone every 2 weeks, and we take trips. We're going to Brazil in a week to the Neodent head office there. So yeah, usually if you have a good culture and a good group, it's easy to find dentists that want to join you.
This is just, I want to be a part of your crew. I just love this mentality. I feel like I'm on an island out here, and there's a couple of us dentists. We talk at work, but that's at work, and we're all in the shit together. But you built this.
You need to get you out to Ontario. I couldn't agree.
Man, I can't wait.
We're gonna convince him.
It's been nice, and I'm moving out there. Can we go to a Raptor game together or something? And
I feel like most of your buddies are out here in Ontario now, so I think we need to start moving you out here, right?
Yeah, no, man. The thing that impresses me about you is, you have this business acumen that's great, but you're still just like Hisham. Like you're in the trenches. You're still doing dentistry, and you're not doing the easy dentistry. You're not doing the 4-6 buckle amalgams. You're doing all the hard crap that maybe your associates can't do. and you're doing it 5 days a week. Can you talk about why you still want to do that? Like, you don't have to, you can just manage your practices, because that's a
Yeah.
full-time job on its own.
Yeah, my associates always ask me, they always say, why are you still practicing? And the number one reason, I'll be honest with you, between all of us, is that it's the street credit. Like, I can't talk to a dentist and say, hey, that 4.6 MO is not acceptable, when they'll be like, dude, you haven't picked up a handpiece in 6 years. Like, what do you, right? And I don't want to lose that. And I definitely do a lot of the tougher stuff, the implants and whatnot, but I still do 4.6 buckles all day. And I still do normal fillings. And yeah, I have a couple of old ladies that want me to clean their teeth, so I'll do prophies. So you have to stay relevant in your profession, and I don't ever want to lose the skill that I have of dentistry. Plus, I'll be honest with you, it's almost therapeutic. It's nice just to, it's nice cleaning teeth once in a while. I just sit there and nobody can bug me. Like, I don't care if one of the locations is on fire, I'm just doing a prophy.
I love it.
Missed a spot.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important, when you are running an organization, to really stay in the trenches with your team. And that's in small business in general. When I grew up in the pizza business, I mean, my parents never missed a day of work. They were always there, because the quality, the second they left, the quality sacrificed. And I still have that same mentality moving forward, even though I'm not at all my locations, obviously. I'm still there. I'm on the line. I'm on the trenches. I'm trying out new products that we want to bring on to the group. And if I'm not a dentist anymore, I don't have that availability to do that.
Interesting. Were you always and I know you grew up in a pizza family, so you had that entrepreneurial tick from when you were young, but like when you were in dental school, were you like that guy, like that business guy, or were you just focused on being a really good dental student? Like, what were you like back then?
Yeah, I think I probably was like that guy, as in I was looking at appraisals, I was looking at practices even when I was a dental student. So I definitely knew that I wanted to get onto the business side of things. And even if you're not that guy, or business isn't your main focus, like, you owe yourself, and you owe your patients, and you owe your staff members, like, the respect to basically learn some basic business acumen. There's tons of the one great thing that came out of COVID is that everything went online. So there are some phenomenal business courses that you can take. I took one over COVID on, I think it was called Business Essentials. It's through Harvard University. And you can take it's called like a core series, and it has like an accounting, economics, and what's the other one? Leadership or something like that. So, I mean, you can take one of those courses, and it will absolutely open your mind to, it's just the simple ways of running a business. And I think every dental student, I think every dentist out there should go above and beyond and take some type of basic business training, because you get none in dental school. Let's be honest. There's absolutely nothing. They try to say that they teach you a business course. It's not even a business course. It's not good at all. So yeah, you got to go to other resources. You got to find something. Take a simple, even business course at your college. There's some dentists that we know that have taken MBAs. I mean, that's great. That's amazing. That's beyond, that's truly incredible. And hats off to them. But I don't even think you need to do that. Just reading at some type of business book, or taking some courses anywhere. I think you'll get enough of a basic business knowledge on how to run a small business, and how to somewhat manage your team and run things successfully.
Mike, man, I honestly, I wish this podcast would last 5 hours, because this has been one of my favorite episodes, because you're just real. You're not trying to sell us something. This isn't fake. This is real life. clinician to clinician. I just love it, man. And I have so much respect for you. But I got a question. Where do you see dentistry over the next 10 years, 15 years? Like, where do you see our profession evolving?
Great question. Great question. So, you know, like I said, my wife's a doctor in Detroit, so we're living in Detroit area right now, and I see how things are on the American side, and everything in Canada follows, America, in my opinion. It just takes 5, 7, 10 years longer to do it. So I think right now, hopefully no one fact checks me, but I think right now in the US, I think 13 or 14% of dental practices are somewhat like corporate owned, and they say if it's like 3 and above, it's almost like 30%, owned by people who have 3 and above practices. So corporate dentistry is real. It's happening in the US. Aspen Dental opens up a new dental practice every 3 days. Like, it's insane. So yeah, it's happening. I mean, Dental Corp and 123, they're kind of taking over things, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And there's talks that they're going to start getting into startups. And, I wouldn't surprise me if 123 is opening up a dental practice every 3 days in the future as well. So I think dentistry is changing. I think it's going retail, like I already mentioned. I think it's going very, very, very corporate. I think it's going very customer centered, which in my opinion is awesome. I think it's great. The more competition that we have out there, who wins? The patient, right? And what are you in this profession for? To serve the patients. So I hope we have 5 dental offices on every corner, because that's just going to up the game, and it's going to make all of our dentists, so much better. And we're going to be able to provide great services for a great cost, and at the end of the day, the patient wins. So is our profession changing a lot? Absolutely. I feel like the GPs out there's these massive GP offices that are forming, and super centers, and they're bringing in specialists. So absolutely, the landscape is changing, and I think it is changing for the better. I think we got to just really make sure that we are graduating a lot of dentists. I think we need to make sure that our credentialing process, keeps with the standards stay really high. We're not just letting in anybody, and not just letting anybody be a dentist. The credentialing process needs to stay stringent, and we need to make sure that we're graduating really, really good dentists. And if that happens, I'm okay with graduating tons of dentists, and having competition to really drive amazing patient care and amazing services for the public. We've already came so far in our 20, 30 years. Like, patients are all traumatized from those old generations of dentists. And nowadays the dental visit is absolutely painless, essentially. So we've already done so much in 20, 30 years. I'm excited to see what we can do in the future, whether it's growing teeth or whatever we do. Our AI just does it all for us. I don't know. But I'm excited to see where this profession goes, for sure.
And spoken from a man with the true abundance mindset. I think you clearly laid that out there. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. Like, this was wicked. Micheal, come on. That was one of the best ever.
That was unreal. That was unreal.
That was so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we hope to have you back again.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thanks. Keep doing this. Like, this is amazing. You guys are really crushing it. So proud of you both.
Wicked. Thanks, homie.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Hi, I'm Neki. Is that a sweater?
Yeah, dude, it's the Hi, I'm Doctor sweater. Oh, dude, I see you got yours on too. Looking sharp, bro.
Dude, where'd you get yours from?
It was super easy, man. I just went on to our website, www.hiimdoctor.com. That's HIIMDR.com.
We have a website. We must be raking in cash from selling these sweaters.
Dude, we are killing it. I mean, if that includes losing money on every single sweater that we make, I think we're doing really well.
Yeah, Neki and I are donating all proceeds, which is 0, to charity because we are losing money.
I wonder if the charity will pay us. I think we got something here, man. Let's keep on keep on losing money on every sweater.
Alrighty, guys, go check us out. hiimdoctor.com.
We'll see ya.
It was like the perfect parts, like success, humility, willingness to share, and charisma, that I think made that podcast just, I think, one of the best we've ever recorded.
My goodness. And I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be like that good. Like I've heard of Micheal Rondinelli and how great of a guy he is, just from one of our other guests, Hisham Shurgan, who's one of my mentors. And first of all, I love how my mentors are younger than me, because they've just accomplished so much. And so it just proves age has nothing to do with it. But man, I don't even know how to explain it. I got this like warm, fuzzy feeling in me right now, because I feel like I've gained his mindset. Like there is no such thing as competition. I hope more practices open up beside me, because the patient wins. It's going to force our office to be even better. It's going to force my staff to be even better. And I'm the one who should be leading my staff, when sometimes I feel like my office is on cruise control because I have a wicked office manager, and I come home and podcast, right? So it just gave me a lot to think about. No. It's the only thing that makes me happy these days is
Neki quits the podcast to be a full-time office manager. Good God.
Oh my God. That was
true,
just
though.
so wicked.
It's true. I find I really appreciate his one, abundance mindset. I think that's really tough to come by.
Yeah.
But two, I almost love when people treat like this line of work, or just work in general, as a game. Like they don't take it too seriously. It's, if there's someone that opens up down the street, hell yeah. That's good for you for kicking me in the ass, right? Like I'm gonna have to one up you, and I'm gonna have to do this. And like, I love people who treat business like a game, because it's so easy to take it like personally, and it is personal, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to put food on the table. But I just love that, lightness to it. I really, really, really
You're
love
totally right. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I have the ability to move the pawns and change the game around and make it work again in my favor, right? And it's just, you're right. It does keep it light. It's not something that will keep you up at night then, because you know that you have the opportunity to make the next move, right?
But think of that like in the moment of when something really shitty happens. You don't take it like it's a game.
No.
You take it, it's personal, right? It's personal now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna remind myself of that podcast, and just kind of, one, remind myself to have that sort of humility, but two, just remember it's a game, right? Like we're doing this because we want to do it. We're not doing it because we have to, right? Like most things you should be doing because you want to do.
If I was going to add a book to his list, because I agreed all of his books, but I think one book that I know he's read, but I don't know if he, acknowledges that that's a huge part of his mentality, is Growth Mindset, or it's called Mindset. It's by Carol Dweck. I was just trying to find the name. Yeah, Mindset: The New Psychology of Success. And I absolutely love this book. And it's about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Like the mindset when you're a kid, and you need the praise of everyone else, and then that carries on to an adulthood, and we need to be liked. And if the second someone disagrees with us, we take it so personally, as a knock against our self-worth. And this is 99% of dentists out there, right? We all live in this fixed mindset, but like our homie Mike here, he's definitely in the growth mindset. And it was just so cool to see a dentist have that mindset, because I get caught in the fixed mindset all the time. Whereas I feel like I'm not good enough, or if someone doesn't rate me high in one of my lectures, I take it as if the world has ended and I got to quit, And so it was just refreshing. I like it.
Totally. Yeah. I've what's it called? Mindset?
It's called Mindset: The New Psychology of Success. Dude, wicked book. And like I read it in like 2 hours. Like just wicked book though. I would highly recommend it for every dentist.
Can you just call me for 2 hours? Just read it to me over the phone. Phone bills go through the roof calling you in Alberta. 2 hour phone call.
Screw it, man. I'm gonna come in person and read it to you, because I just loved hanging out with you the other week, man. Like that was so awesome just hanging out in person.
It was a good time. It was
Zoom's
really fun.
cool, but it's just not the same, man. So it's wicked.
I know. It's funny. Neki and I were just talking about how like 5 days, like 5 days for me launching the company, 5 days of Neki of like podcasting and teaching. And it's like looking back, like what was the best part? Like we went for a 3-hour random walk just between a lunch that I wasn't even supposed to be at and your Jays game.
Yeah.
And like, that was the best part of the whole week, right? It's kind of funny things that work.
Yeah. No, that was so awesome, man. Yeah, I'm so excited. We got a lot of great guests coming on too. But I thought Mike really hit it out of the park, and I think a lot of newer dentists would appreciate this podcast.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We sure as hell did.
Yeah, see you next time.